You know what's fascinating? Right now, at this very moment, you are enough, you are complete, you are whole. And yet, how many of us spend our entire lives searching for something outside of ourselves to make us feel complete? We look for it in relationships, in jobs, in possessions, in achievements, in other people's approval. We keep thinking that if we just get that one thing, if we just reach that goal, if we just find that person, then finally we'll feel like we've arrived. Then finally we'll know our purpose. Then finally we'll feel worthy. But here's the truth that can set you free right now. What you're looking for isn't out there. It never was. Everything you need, everything you're meant to be, everything you're meant to do is already inside you. It's been there all along. You were born with it. You came into this world with a unique set of gifts, talents, abilities, and a purpose that only you can fulfill. Nobody else can do what you're here to do. Nobody else has your exact combination of experiences, insights, and capabilities. Think about an acorn for a moment. Inside that tiny seed is everything it needs to become a mighty oak tree. The oak tree isn't somewhere out there that the acorn has to go find. It's not hiding in the forest waiting to be located. The oak tree is already within the acorn. All the acorn needs to do is what comes naturally. It doesn't struggle, it doesn't doubt itself. It doesn't look at other acorns and think, maybe I should become a pine tree instead. It simply allows what's already inside to emerge and grow. It trusts the process. It trusts its own nature. You are exactly like that acorn. Everything you're meant to become is already encoded within you. Your purpose isn't something you need to find. It's something you need to allow. It's something you need to trust. It's something you need to stop resisting and start expressing. But somewhere along the way, most of us forgot this fundamental truth. We started believing that we're not enough as we are. We started thinking that our worth depends on external validation. We started looking outside ourselves for answers that can only be found within. When you were born, you didn't doubt yourself. You didn't question your worth. You didn't wonder if you were good enough. You simply were. You expressed yourself freely. When you were hungry, you cried. When you were happy, you laughed. When you wanted to move, you moved. You were completely authentic, completely yourself, without apology or hesitation. You trusted your instincts completely. You knew what you needed and you asked for it. You knew what brought you joy and you pursued it. You were connected to your inner guidance system and you followed it without question. But then something happened. You started getting messages from the world around you. Messages that said you should be different. Messages that said you should fit in. Messages that said you should follow the rules, color inside the lines, be practical, be realistic, stop dreaming so much. You learned that love and approval were conditional. You learned that you had to perform in certain ways to be accepted. You learned that your natural impulses couldn't always be trusted. And slowly, gradually, you disconnected from that inner knowing. You stopped listening to that voice inside you that knows exactly who you are and what you're meant to do. Now, years later, you find yourself searching for something that you already have. You find yourself trying to become someone that you already are. You find yourself looking for a purpose that's been waiting patiently inside you all along, just hoping you'll notice it. And the beautiful thing is, it's not too late. It doesn't matter how long you've been disconnected from your true self. It doesn't matter how many wrong turns you think you've taken. It doesn't matter how much time you feel you've wasted. Your purpose is still there. Your gifts are still there. Your authentic self is still there, waiting for you to come home. The search outside yourself will never satisfy you because what you're truly seeking cannot be found in external circumstances. You can accumulate all the success in the world, and if you're not connected to your inner truth, you'll still feel empty. You can have all the recognition, all the money, all the possessions, and still feel like something's missing. Because what's missing isn't a thing. What's missing is the connection to yourself. What's missing is the recognition that you already are what you've been trying to become. When you understand that your purpose is within you, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop struggling, you stop trying to force things to happen. Instead, you start allowing, you start listening, you start trusting. You begin to notice the gentle nudges from within. You pay attention to what brings you alive. You follow your curiosity. You honor your interests. You express your unique perspective. You share your gifts without needing permission or validation from anyone else. Your purpose isn't some grand cosmic assignment that you need to decode. It's much simpler than that. Your purpose is to be yourself. Your purpose is to express what wants to be expressed through you. Your purpose is to share your unique light with the world. It might show up as art. as teaching, as healing, as building, as nurturing, as creating, as serving. It might look different in different seasons of your life, but the common thread is always the same. It feels aligned. It feels true. It feels like you're being yourself, not trying to be someone else. You see, the world doesn't need another person trying to be someone they're not. The world has enough people playing it safe, following the crowd, doing what they think they should do instead of what they feel called to do. The world needs you to be you. The world needs your unique expression. There's a space in this universe that only you can fill. There's a contribution that only you can make. There's a song that only you can sing. And when you hold back that expression, when you deny your authentic self, when you keep searching outside yourself for what's already within, you're not just depriving yourself of fulfillment, you're depriving the world of your gifts. Think about the people who have inspired you most in your life. Were they inspiring because they were trying to be like someone else? Were they inspiring because they followed the safe path? Were they inspiring because they sought everyone's approval? No. They were inspiring because they were authentically themselves. They were inspiring because they trusted their inner guidance. They were inspiring because they expressed what was true for them, even when it was scary, even when it was different, even when others didn't understand. That's what the world is hungry for. That's what touches people. That's what creates real change. Not people who have it all figured out, not people who are perfect, not people who never struggle or doubt, but people who are willing to be real. People who are willing to be vulnerable, people who are willing to show up as their authentic selves, imperfections and all. And here's what's so freeing about this. When you stop trying to be something you're not, life gets so much easier. The struggle isn't in being yourself. The struggle is in trying to be someone else. The struggle is in trying to meet everyone else's expectations. The struggle is in looking outside yourself for validation. When you come home to yourself, when you reconnect with your inner truth, there's a natural ease that emerges. Things start to flow, doors start to open, opportunities start to appear. Not because you're forcing them, but because you're finally aligned with who you really are. This doesn't mean that challenges disappear. It doesn't mean that everything becomes effortless. But it means that even when things are difficult, you're facing those difficulties as your authentic self. You're not adding the extra burden of pretending to be someone you're not. You're not carrying the weight of trying to live up to external expectations. You're simply being yourself and dealing with life from that place of truth. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, but I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm meant to do. I don't feel connected to any inner guidance, and that's okay. That's actually a perfect place to start, because the very fact that you're aware of that disconnection means you're ready to reconnect. The very fact that you're searching means something inside you is waking up. The way back to yourself isn't complicated. It doesn't require years of therapy or meditation or soul searching, although those things can certainly help. The way back to yourself simply requires that you start paying attention. Start noticing what lights you up. Start noticing what feels true for you. Start noticing when you feel most alive, most authentic, most yourself. Start noticing what you do that makes time disappear. Start noticing what you care about, what moves you, what makes you feel passionate. And equally important, start noticing what drains you. Start noticing what feels false. Start noticing when you're pretending, when you're performing, when you're trying to be someone you're not. Start noticing what you do out of obligation versus what you do out of genuine desire. These observations are like breadcrumbs leading you back home to yourself. You also need to start questioning the beliefs you've been carrying. So many of the things we believe about ourselves aren't even our own beliefs. They're beliefs we absorb from our parents, our teachers, our culture, our past experiences. We heard them so many times that we started accepting them as truth. But they're not truth. They're just thoughts. And thoughts can be changed. Maybe you've been believing that you're not creative. But is that really true? Or did someone once tell you that and you just accepted it? Maybe you've been believing that you're not good enough. But is that really true? Or is that just a story you've been telling yourself based on some past experiences? Maybe you've been believing that you need to have everything figured out before you can start. But is that really true? Or is that just fear disguising itself as practicality? When you start questioning these beliefs, when you start seeing them for what they are, just thoughts and not truths, you create space for something new. You create space for your authentic self to emerge. You create space for your inner guidance to be heard. You create space for your purpose to reveal itself. And here's something crucial to understand. Your purpose doesn't have to be something big and grand and world-changing. It doesn't have to be your job or your career. It doesn't have to be something that makes you famous or wealthy or recognized. Your purpose is simply about being true to yourself and expressing that truth in whatever ways feel right to you. It might be as simple as bringing kindness to everyone you meet. It might be about creating beauty in small ways. It might be about raising your children with love and consciousness. It might be about being fully present in whatever work you do, no matter what that work is. The mistake so many people make is thinking that purpose has to be something spectacular. They think they have to start a movement or change the world or do something that's never been done before. And while some people are called to those kinds of expressions, most of us are called to something much more ordinary and yet equally important. We're called to simply be ourselves, to share our unique gifts in our own unique ways, to touch the lives that we're meant to touch. You don't need to compare your purpose to anyone else's. You don't need to make your purpose bigger or smaller or different than it is. You just need to honor it. You just need to express it. You just need to trust it. Because when you're living from your authentic self, when you're expressing what's true for you, you're fulfilling your purpose. It's that simple. And something magical happens when you start living this way. You stop feeling like you're searching for something. You stop feeling like something's missing. You stop feeling like you need to prove yourself or become someone different. You feel complete exactly as you are. You feel peaceful. You feel purposeful. Not because you've achieved some external goal, but because you're finally being yourself. This is the greatest freedom there is. This is what all the searching has really been about. Not finding something outside yourself, but remembering what's inside yourself. Not becoming someone new, but returning to who you've always been underneath all the conditioning and beliefs and fears. Not discovering some hidden purpose, but allowing your natural purpose to express itself. You came into this world with everything you need. You came in whole and complete and perfect just as you are. And yes, you're meant to grow and evolve and learn and change. But that growth doesn't happen by trying to become someone you're not. That growth happens by becoming more fully yourself. It happens by peeling away the layers of false beliefs and conditioning and fear that have covered up your true nature. It happens by remembering what you knew when you were born, that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are here for a reason. Think about how much energy you've been spending on the search. Think about how exhausting it's been trying to find yourself outside yourself. Think about how much stress you've experienced trying to meet everyone else's expectations. Think about how much anxiety you felt wondering if you're on the right path. Now think about what would happen if you took all that energy and redirected it inward. What would happen if instead of searching, you simply listened? What would happen if instead of trying to become something, you simply allowed yourself to be? The answers you seek are not in another book, another seminar, another person, another achievement. The answers are in the quiet moments when you stop all the seeking and simply be with yourself. The answers are in that still small voice inside that's been trying to get your attention all along. The answers are in the feelings that arise when you do something that truly matters to you. The answers are in the peace you feel when you stop pretending and start being real. And yes, listening to that inner voice requires courage. Being yourself in a world that's constantly trying to make you into someone else requires courage. Following your own path when everyone else thinks you should follow theirs requires courage. But here's what I want you to understand. You already have that courage. It's inside you right now. It's part of what you were born with. You've used it before, even if you don't remember. You used it when you were a child and you expressed yourself freely. You've used it every time you've been true to yourself, even in small ways. The courage isn't something you need to find or develop or create. It's something you need to trust. It's something you need to access. It's something that emerges naturally when you connect with your authentic self. Because your authentic self isn't afraid. Your authentic self knows its worth. Your authentic self trusts the process of life. It's only the false self, the conditioned self, the self that's been taught to doubt and fear and play small, that feels afraid. When you connect with who you really are, fear doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. You feel the fear and you move forward anyway. You feel the doubt and you trust yourself anyway. You feel the uncertainty and you take the next step anyway. Because you're connected to something larger than your fear. You're connected to your truth. You're connected to your purpose. You're connected to the part of you that knows you're exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, becoming exactly who you're meant to become. And let me tell you something else that's important. This isn't a destination. This isn't something you achieve once and then you're done. This is a practice. This is a daily choice. This is a constant returning to yourself. Because life will still throw challenges at you. People will still have opinions about how you should live. Circumstances will still arise that test you. And in those moments, you'll have a choice. You can abandon yourself and go back to seeking outside yourself, or you can come home to yourself and trust what's within. Every time you choose to trust yourself, you strengthen that connection. Every time you choose to express your truth, you honor your purpose. Every time you choose to be authentic, you become more fully yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never doubting or never struggling. It's about choosing yourself over and over again. It's about remembering over and over again that what you seek is not out there, but in here. You know, one of the most powerful shifts you can make is moving from asking, what should I do, to asking, who am I? Because when you know who you are, what you should do becomes obvious. When you're connected to your authentic self, your choices become clear. When you're aligned with your inner truth, your path reveals itself. You don't need someone else to tell you what to do. You don't need another self-help book or another guru or another system. You need to listen to yourself. You need to trust yourself. You need to be yourself. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop searching for your purpose and start being yourself, your purpose finds you. When you stop trying to figure out what you're meant to do and start doing what feels true, your path unfolds. When you stop looking outside yourself for validation and start validating yourself from within, everything you've been seeking starts showing up. Not because you finally found it out there, but because you finally allowed it to emerge from within. This is available to you right now, not someday when you have more clarity, not someday when you feel more ready, not someday when circumstances are better. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to stop the endless searching and start being. You can choose to stop trying to become someone else and start expressing who you are. You can choose to stop looking for your purpose out there and start living your purpose from within. What would that look like for you? What would it feel like to trust yourself completely? What would it feel like to express yourself fully? What would it feel like to know, without a doubt, that you are enough exactly as you are? What would it feel like to live from that place of inner knowing rather than external validation? What would change in your life if you finally came home to yourself? These aren't rhetorical questions. These are invitations. Invitations to feel into your truth. Invitations to connect with your authentic self. Invitations to remember what you've always known but perhaps forgotten, that you are whole, you are complete, you are enough, and everything you need is already within you. The oak tree doesn't search for its oakness, the river doesn't search for its flow, the sun doesn't search for its light. They simply are what they are. They simply express what they're meant to express. They simply fulfill their purpose by being themselves. And you can do the same. You can stop searching and start being. You can stop trying and start allowing. You can stop forcing and start flowing. This doesn't mean you become passive. This doesn't mean you stop growing or learning or evolving. This means you stop struggling against yourself. This means you stop trying to be someone you're not. This means you align yourself with your true nature and allow that nature to guide you. There's tremendous power in this. There's tremendous peace in this. There's tremendous purpose in this. When you live this way, you stop needing life to be different than it is. You stop needing yourself to be different than you are. You stop needing other people to validate you or complete you or give you permission to be yourself. You become free. Not free from challenges or responsibilities or difficulties, but free to face all of life as your authentic self. Free to express your truth. Free to live your purpose. Free to be who you really are. And what you'll find when you live this way is that life supports you. Not in some magical, everything becomes perfect kind of way, but in a real, tangible, you start noticing synchronicities and opportunities kind of way. When you're aligned with your authentic self, you naturally attract people and circumstances that resonate with that authenticity. When you're expressing your truth, you naturally find outlets for that expression. When you're being yourself, life has a way of working with you rather than against you. This is not about wishful thinking or positive affirmations or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is about something much more fundamental. This is about aligning with the truth of who you are. This is about recognizing that you are not separate from the creative intelligence that runs through all of life. You are an expression of that intelligence. You are a unique manifestation of the same force that grows trees and moves planets and beats your heart without you having to think about it. That force is within you right now. That intelligence is accessible to you in every moment. That creative power is yours to use, not by manipulating or controlling or forcing, but by allowing and trusting and expressing. Your job is not to figure it all out. Your job is not to have all the answers. Your job is simply to be yourself. And let that universal intelligence work through you in its own unique way. This is why searching outside yourself will never work. Because what you're looking for is not an object or a person or a circumstance. What you're looking for is a connection to yourself, a connection to your truth, a connection to the part of you that knows why you're here and what you're meant to express. And that connection can only be made by turning inward, by getting quiet, by listening, by trusting, by being. So I invite you now to stop. Stop the endless searching. Stop the constant trying. Stop the exhausting effort to become someone you think you should be. Stop looking outside yourself for what can only be found within. Just stop. And in that stopping, in that stillness, in that silence, listen. Listen to the voice that's been trying to get your attention all along. Listen to the yearnings of your heart. Listen to the wisdom of your body. Listen to the knowing of your soul. What is it telling you? What does it want to express? What does it need you to know? What is it calling you to do or be or create or share? Don't dismiss it. Don't judge it. Don't tell yourself it's not practical or possible or good enough. Just listen. Just receive. Just allow. Because in that listening, in that receiving, in that allowing, you'll find what you've been searching for all along. You'll find yourself. You'll find your purpose. You'll find your peace. Not because you finally located it somewhere outside yourself, but because you finally remembered it was inside yourself all along. You are not broken. You do not need fixing. You do not need to become someone else. You need to remember who you are. You need to reconnect with your truth. You need to express what's been waiting to be expressed. You need to trust what's been waiting to be trusted. You need to be what you've always been underneath all the conditioning and fear and doubt. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your life. And it's waiting for you to show up fully, authentically, courageously as yourself. Not the self you think you should be, not the self others expect you to be, but the self you truly are. The self that knows, the self that trusts, the self that's whole and complete and enough exactly as it is. Stop searching. Start being. Stop trying. Start allowing. Stop forcing. Start flowing. Stop doubting. Start trusting. Stop pretending. Start expressing. The answer is within you. The purpose is within you. The peace is within you. Everything you've been looking for is within you. It always has been. It always will be. You just need to come home to yourself and let it emerge. That's all that's required. That's all that's ever been required. Not a grand search, not a difficult journey, just a simple return. A return to yourself, a return to your truth. A return to the knowing that you are enough, that you are whole, that you are exactly who and what you need to be. Right here, right now, in this moment, always. You know, there's something absolutely miraculous that happens when you stop holding on so tightly to everything in your life. Most of us spend our entire existence grabbing, clutching, trying to control every single outcome, every person, every circumstance. We wake up in the morning already planning how we're going to make things happen, how we're going to force life to bend to our will, and then we wonder why we're exhausted. We wonder why we're stressed. We wonder why, despite all our effort, things still don't turn out the way we expected. Here's what I've learned after all these years of studying human behavior, of working with thousands of people, of examining my own struggles and breakthroughs. The universe operates on a principle that's completely opposite to what most of us have been taught. We've been conditioned to believe that more effort equals more results, that if we just push harder, grip tighter, control better, we'll finally get what we want. But that's not how life works. That's not how the energy of this universe flows. Think about water for a moment. When you try to grab water with a clenched fist, what happens? It slips right through your fingers. But when you cup your hands gently, when you allow the water to rest in your open palms, you can hold it. You can drink from it. You can be nourished by it. Life is exactly the same way. The tighter you grip, the more it eludes you. The more you let go, the more it flows toward you. Now, I'm not talking about giving up. I'm not suggesting you become passive or indifferent. There's a massive difference between letting go and giving up. Giving up is surrender born from defeat. Letting go is surrender born from wisdom. Letting go means you're still engaged with life, you're still participating, you're still creating, but you're doing it from a place of trust rather than fear. You're doing it from a place of allowing rather than forcing. Most of our attachment comes from fear. We're afraid that if we don't control the outcome, something terrible will happen. We're afraid that if we don't micromanage every detail, everything will fall apart. We're afraid that if we're not constantly vigilant, constantly pushing, constantly striving, we'll lose what we have or never get what we want. But this fear-based approach to life is exactly what creates our suffering. It's exactly what blocks the very things we're trying to attract. When you operate from fear, you're operating from a state of lack. You're telling the universe, I don't have enough. I'm not enough. Life isn't giving me what I need, so I have to take it by force. And the universe, being the mirror that it is, reflects that energy right back to you. You get more experiences of lack, more experiences of struggle, more experiences of having to fight for everything. But when you let go, when you release that death grip on how things should be, you open yourself up to how things could be. And I promise you, the universe is far more creative, far more generous, far more abundant than your limited human mind could ever conceive. Your ego, your conscious mind, can only see a few steps ahead. It can only plan based on what it already knows, what it's already experienced. But the infinite intelligence that runs this universe, the same intelligence that grows a baby from 2 cells, the same intelligence that keeps planets in orbit and makes your heart beat without your conscious effort, that intelligence has a much bigger plan for you than you could ever design for yourself. I've seen this play out countless times in my own life. Every single time I've tried to force something to happen, I've either failed or succeeded in creating something that wasn't really aligned with my highest good. But every time I've let go, every time I've said, okay, I'm going to do my part, I'm going to take inspired action, but I'm going to release my attachment to the specific outcome, magic has happened. Opportunities I never could have predicted showed up. People I never knew existed came into my life. Solutions to problems that seemed impossible suddenly became clear. Let me be more specific about what letting go actually means in practical terms. It doesn't mean you stop having goals or desires. It doesn't mean you sit around waiting for life to happen to you. What it means is you hold your goals lightly. You move toward them with enthusiasm and commitment, but you don't strangle them with your need for them to manifest in one specific way at one specific time. When you're attached to an outcome, you're saying, I know exactly how this needs to happen, when it needs to happen, and who needs to be involved. You've written the entire script in your head, and now you're upset when reality doesn't follow your screenplay. But when you let go of attachment, you're saying, I know what I want to create or experience, and I'm going to move in that direction, but I'm open to it showing up in ways I haven't even thought of. I'm open to it being even better than I imagined. I'm open to the timing being different than I planned if that serves my highest good. This is especially important when it comes to relationships. Oh, how we suffer in our relationships because of our attachments. We meet someone, and immediately our ego starts creating a story about who they should be, how they should behave, what they should give us. And then we spend the entire relationship trying to mold them into our preconceived idea instead of allowing them to be who they actually are. We try to change them, control them, fix them. And we're miserable because they keep being themselves instead of our fantasy version of them. Or we hold on to relationships that have clearly run their course because we're attached to how things used to be, or attached to our investment of time and energy, or attached to not being alone. We stay in situations that drain us, that diminish us, that prevent us from growing, all because we can't let go. We're so afraid of the empty space that would be left behind that we'd rather fill it with something that makes us unhappy than face the temporary discomfort of release. But here's what I want you to understand. When you let go of a person or situation that isn't serving you, you're not losing anything real. You're only losing your attachment to an idea, a fantasy, a hope that things could be different than they are. And when you release that attachment, You make space for something authentic to enter your life. You make space for relationships that uplift you, for situations that align with your growth, for experiences that actually fulfill you. The same principle applies to your relationship with material things. Money, possessions, status, these are all wonderful things to have, and there's nothing wrong with wanting them. But when you're attached to them, when your sense of worth and security is tied to them, you become their slave. You make decisions based on fear of losing them rather than on what truly serves your soul's purpose. You sacrifice your peace, your health, your integrity to get them or keep them. I've watched people destroy themselves chasing money because they were attached to the idea that money would make them happy, would make them worthy, would make them safe. They got the money, and they were still unhappy, still felt unworthy, still felt unsafe. Why? Because they hadn't addressed the inner void they were trying to fill. They were looking outside themselves for something that could only be found within. When you let go of your attachment to money as a source of security and instead trust that you live in an abundant universe that will always provide what you need, something shifts. You still work, you still create value, you still receive compensation, but you do it from a place of joy and service rather than desperation and fear. And ironically, when you operate from that energy, you often end up with more money than you would have by chasing it frantically. This is the paradox of letting go. By releasing your desperate need for something, you actually become more magnetic to it. Why? Because neediness repels. Confidence attracts. When you need something, you're in a state of lack, and that energy pushes away the very thing you want. But when you want something without needing it, when you desire it but know you'll be fine either way, you're in a state of abundance, and that energy draws things to you effortlessly. Think about how this shows up in everyday situations. When you desperately need someone to like you, they can feel that neediness and it pushes them away. But when you're comfortable being yourself, when you're okay whether they like you or not, suddenly you become more attractive. When you desperately need a job, you go into the interview tense and trying too hard, and they can sense it. But when you know your worth, when you trust that if this job isn't right, there will be another one, you show up confident and authentic, and you're more likely to get hired. The energy of desperation, of attachment, of neediness, literally changes how you show up in the world. It affects your body language, your tone of voice, the decisions you make, the opportunities you notice or miss. When you're attached, you're contracted, you're tight, you're closed off. But when you let go, you expand, you relax, you open up. And in that openness, life can reach you. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds great in theory, but how do I actually let go? I've been trying to stop worrying, stop controlling, stop being attached, and I can't seem to do it. And that's because you can't force yourself to let go. You can't make letting go another thing on your to-do list, another goal to achieve through effort and willpower. Letting go happens naturally when you shift your perspective, when you change your underlying beliefs about how life works. The first step is becoming aware of what you're attached to. Most of us don't even realize how many things we're gripping tightly. We think we're just living our lives, but we're actually in a constant state of low-grade anxiety about maintaining control. So start noticing, when do you feel tense? What thoughts create anxiety in your body? What situations trigger your need to control? Just observe without judgment. Awareness is always the first step toward change. Once you're aware of your attachments, the next step is questioning the beliefs behind them. If you're attached to someone's approval, ask yourself why. What do you believe will happen if they don't approve of you? If you're attached to a specific outcome, ask yourself why this particular outcome seems so important. What are you making it mean about you or your life? Usually, when you drill down, you'll find that you're attaching your identity, your worth, or your safety to external circumstances. And that's the root of all suffering. Your worth is not determined by your accomplishments, your relationships, your bank account, or any other external measure. Your worth is inherent. It was established the moment you came into existence. You are an individualized expression of the infinite creative force of the universe. You are literally made of the same energy that creates galaxies. How could you not be worthy? How could you not be enough? Your value isn't something you have to earn or prove. It simply is. When you really understand this, when you feel this truth in your bones, letting go becomes natural. You stop needing external validation because you validate yourself. You stop needing to control outcomes because you trust that you're always being guided toward your highest good. You stop needing people, circumstances, or things to be different than they are because you know that your peace, your happiness, your fulfillment come from within. This doesn't mean you become indifferent or apathetic. You still care about things. You still have preferences. You still take action toward your goals. But there's a lightness to it. There's a trust. There's a knowing that whether things work out the way you planned or not, you're going to be okay. More than okay. You're going to grow, learn, and evolve through whatever happens. I want to talk about control for a moment because this is where so many of us get stuck. We've been taught that we're supposed to control our lives, that responsible adults manage and control everything. But the truth is, we control very little. We don't control other people. We can't make someone love us, respect us, or behave the way we want them to. We don't control circumstances. We can't prevent loss, change, or unexpected challenges from showing up in our lives. We don't even fully control our own minds and bodies. Thoughts arise whether we want them to or not. Physical sensations, emotions, and impulses happen automatically. So what do we actually control? We control our response to what happens. We control where we place our attention. We control the meaning we assign to events. We control the actions we choose to take. That's it. And that's enough. When you stop trying to control all the things you can't control and focus on the things you can, you become powerful. Not in a dominating way, but in an authentic, grounded way. Letting go of control doesn't mean nothing is in your hands. It means you're taking your hands off everything that was never yours to hold in the first place. You're releasing your grip on other people's choices, on past events you can't change, on future outcomes you can't guarantee. And in doing so, you free up enormous amounts of energy that you can now direct toward what you actually can influence. Think about how much energy you waste trying to control things that are beyond your control. You replay conversations in your head, wishing you'd said something different. You worry about what might happen in the future, rehearsing disasters that will probably never occur. You try to manage other people's opinions of you, constantly adjusting your behavior to win approval. All of this is exhausting, and none of it is effective. When you let go of the illusion of control, you get your energy back. You get your life back. You're no longer scattered across 1,000 different concerns, most of which are imaginary. You're present. You're here. You're available for the actual experience of your life instead of being lost in your thoughts about your life. This presence is incredibly powerful. When you're truly present, you notice things you would have missed. You feel your intuition more clearly. You respond to situations with wisdom rather than reacting from old patterns. You connect with people authentically instead of performing for them. You experience joy, beauty, and love more fully because you're actually there for them. And here's something beautiful that happens when you let go. You stop being motivated by fear and start being motivated by love. Fear says, I have to make this happen, or something bad will occur. Love says, I want to create this because it would be beautiful, meaningful, or joyful. Fear contracts and strains. Love expands and flows. Fear is exhausting. Love is energizing. When you're creating from love rather than fear, everything changes. Your work becomes more creative, more inspired, more effective. Your relationships become more genuine, more intimate, more satisfying. Your life becomes an expression of who you really are rather than a defense against who you're afraid of being. I've spent decades studying spiritual texts from every tradition, and they all point to this same truth. Whether it's the Tao Te Ching talking about Wu Wei, effortless action, or the Bhagavad Gita discussing non-attachment to the fruits of action, or Jesus teaching about not worrying about tomorrow, or the Buddha explaining the cause of suffering, they're all saying the same thing. Attachment is the problem. Letting go is the solution. But these aren't just ancient teachings. Modern psychology has caught up with this wisdom. Research shows that people who are less attached to specific outcomes experience less stress, better mental health, more creativity, and often more success in achieving their goals. Why? Because they're not blocking the flow with their anxiety and rigidity. They're open to possibilities. They adapt more easily. They see opportunities that others miss because they're not fixated on one narrow path. Neuroscience has shown us that when we're anxious and controlling, our brain literally narrows its focus. We go into a stress response where we can only see threats and problems, but when we're relaxed and trusting, our brain opens up. We can see more options, make better decisions, and tap into our higher cognitive functions. Letting go isn't just spiritually wise, it's biologically smart. Now, let's talk about what happens when you actually practice this. When you start letting go, things might feel scary at first. Your ego is going to protest. It's going to tell you that if you don't stay in control, everything will fall apart. It's going to create fearful scenarios about all the terrible things that will happen if you release your grip. This is normal. Your ego's job is to keep you safe, and it thinks staying in control is how to do that. But you're not your ego. You're the awareness behind your thoughts. You're the infinite part of yourself that knows you're always safe because you're always connected to the source of all life. So when those fearful thoughts arise, you don't have to believe them. You can acknowledge them, thank your ego for trying to protect you, and then gently redirect your attention to trust. Trust is the antidote to control. When you trust that the universe is fundamentally benevolent, that it's always moving in the direction of greater life, growth, and love, you can relax. You can let go. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to make everything happen. You can do your part and trust that the universe will do its part. This trust develops over time as you test it out. You let go of something small and notice that not only did nothing terrible happen, but often something better showed up. You release control in a relationship and find that the relationship either improves or naturally ends, making space for a better one. You stop forcing a particular career path and find that a new opportunity emerges that's more aligned with who you really are. Each time you let go and see that you're supported, your trust grows. Eventually, you get to a place where letting go feels more natural than holding on, where trust feels more comfortable than control, where you actually prefer the experience of flowing with life rather than fighting against it. And this is when life really starts to give back to you, not because you've earned it or deserve it more than before, but because you've finally opened yourself up to receive it. You've removed the blocks. You've stopped pushing away abundance with your desperate grasping. You've become a clear channel for life to flow through you and to you. Things start showing up that you didn't even ask for. Synchronicities increase. You meet the right person at the right time. You hear about an opportunity just when you need it. You receive help from unexpected sources. Solutions appear for problems you were struggling with. It's not magic, although it can certainly feel magical. It's simply the natural result of aligning yourself with the flow of life rather than resisting it. The more you let go, the more you receive. But here's the beautiful twist. The more you receive, the less attached you become to receiving. You realize that the real treasure wasn't the things you received, but the person you became in the process of learning to let go. The peace, the freedom, the trust, the openness, the love. These inner riches are worth more than anything external you could ever acquire. When you reach this understanding, you become truly free. Free from the tyranny of your own desires. Free from the prison of other people's opinions. Free from the burden of trying to control an uncontrollable universe. And in that freedom, you can finally enjoy your life. Not someday when everything is perfect, but right now, with all its imperfections and uncertainties, you can appreciate what you have without clinging to it. You can work toward goals without your happiness, depending on achieving them. You can love people without needing them to complete you. You can face challenges without being destroyed by them. You can experience loss without losing yourself. You can embrace change without fear. This is what it means to truly live. Not to grip and control and force and manipulate, but to participate fully, respond authentically, create joyfully, and release peacefully. To show up with your whole heart while holding the outcome lightly. To care deeply while remaining unattached to results. Let me share something personal with you. For years, I held on to anger about my childhood. I resented my father for abandoning our family. I carried that resentment like a heavy stone, thinking somehow that my anger was punishing him. But the only person it was hurting was me. That anger was coloring every relationship I had, every decision I made, every moment of my life. When I finally let it go, when I truly forgave and released that resentment, everything changed. Not because my past changed, the facts remained the same, but my relationship to those facts transformed completely. I was no longer a victim of my history. I was no longer defined by what someone else had done decades ago. I was free, and in that freedom I could finally become who I was meant to be. That's what letting go does. It liberates you from the past and the future so you can inhabit the present. It releases you from who you thought you had to be so you can be who you actually are. It frees you from the prison of your own mind so you can experience the vastness of life itself. And here's what I want you to really hear. You don't have to let go of everything all at once. This isn't an all or nothing proposition. You can start small, choose one thing you've been gripping tightly and consciously release it. Maybe it's a grudge you've been holding. Maybe it's a hope that someone will change. Maybe it's anxiety about a situation you can't control. Just one thing. Release it with intention. You might say to yourself, I choose to let this go. I release my grip on this outcome, this person, this need. I trust that whatever happens, I will be okay. I trust that the universe has my back. I trust that I am always being guided toward my highest good. And then notice what happens. Notice how your body feels. Notice the space that opens up. Notice what shows up in that space. Then, when you're ready, choose another thing to release, and another. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Because you've experienced the freedom and peace that comes from letting go, and you want more of that. Because you've seen that the universe really does support you when you release your death grip on life. This is a practice. It's not a destination you arrive at once and for all. You'll find yourself gripping tightly again, and that's okay. The moment you notice you're holding on too tight, you have the opportunity to let go again. Each time you do, it gets easier. Each time you do, you deepen your trust. Each time you do, you open yourself more fully to the abundant, generous, creative flow of life. And I want to be clear about something. Letting go doesn't mean you won't experience pain or loss or disappointment. Life includes all of those things. But when you're not attached, when you're not desperately clinging to how things should be, you can move through those difficult experiences with more grace. You can. Feel your feelings fully without being destroyed by them. You can grieve without becoming bitter. You can acknowledge disappointment without giving up on life. In fact, letting go allows you to feel your emotions more authentically because you're not wasting energy trying to control or suppress them. You can be with what is, whatever it is, knowing that you're spacious enough to hold it all, knowing that emotions are temporary visitors, not permanent residents, knowing that this too shall pass. This capacity to be with life as it is, rather than as you wish it were, is the ultimate maturity. It's the difference between being tossed around by circumstances and remaining centered regardless of what's happening around you. It's the difference between suffering and pain. Pain is inevitable in life. Suffering is optional. Suffering is what happens when we resist pain, when we attach to the idea that things shouldn't be as they are. When you let go of resistance, you can experience pain without creating suffering. You can feel loss without losing yourself. You can face uncertainty without being paralyzed by fear. Because underneath all the temporary circumstances of your life, there's a permanent foundation of peace. There's the unchanging awareness that you are, that has been and always will be, regardless of what comes and goes in your experience. This awareness is your true self. It's not your ego, your personality, your roles, your achievements, or your failures. It's the consciousness itself. And when you identify with this awareness rather than with the changing contents of your life, letting go becomes natural, because you realize that you can't lose what you truly are. The things you're so afraid of losing, your youth, your health, your relationships, your status, they were never who you are anyway. They're experiences you're having, but they're not you. You are the experiencer. You are the eternal, infinite awareness in which all experiences arise and pass away. When you really get this, when you feel this truth beyond just understanding it intellectually, you become fearless. Not in the sense that you never feel fear, but in the sense that you're no longer controlled by fear. Fear becomes just another sensation moving through your awareness, rather than a dictator determining your choices. From this place of identification with your true self, you can participate fully in life without being destroyed when things don't go your way. You can love completely without the fear of loss preventing you from opening your heart. You can commit fully to your goals while remaining unattached to specific outcomes. You can engage passionately with life while maintaining your inner peace. This is the paradox and the promise of letting go. You become more alive, not less. More engaged, not less. More creative, not less. More loving, not less. But you're doing it all from a place of freedom rather than need. from overflow rather than deficit, from trust rather than fear. And the universe responds to that energy. Life rewards that openness. Not because you've manipulated some cosmic vending machine, but because you've aligned yourself with how life actually works. You've stopped working against the current and started flowing with it. And when you flow with life rather than fighting it, you discover that life has been trying to give to you all along. You were just too tense, too closed, too attached to receive it. So my invitation to you is simple, though not always easy. Start letting go. Start with whatever feels manageable. Release your grip just a little bit on something you've been holding tightly. Notice what happens. Learn to trust through experience, not just belief. Test it out. See for yourself that the more you let go, the more life gives you. And remember, you're not doing this alone. You're supported by the same infinite intelligence that orchestrates the entire universe. The same force that knows how to grow a tree from a seed, how to heal a wound, how to turn food into energy. This same force is available to guide your life if you'll get out of the way and let it. Stop trying to do everything yourself. Stop thinking that your small, limited ego has to figure it all out. Surrender to the higher intelligence that's already within you, already guiding you, already conspiring for your benefit. Your job isn't to control everything. Your job is to be present, to be open, to be willing, to take inspired action when called, and to let go of the rest. When you live this way, life becomes an adventure rather than a burden, an unfolding mystery rather than a problem to solve, a gift to receive rather than a battle to win. And you finally get to experience the peace, joy, and freedom that you've been seeking all along, not by grasping for them, but by releasing everything that's been blocking them. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not just more stuff, although that may come too, but more of what really matters. More peace, more love, more joy, more connection, more creativity, more aliveness, more of your true self. And isn't that what you really want anyway? Isn't that what all the grasping and controlling and forcing has really been about? The desire to feel okay, to feel safe, to feel whole. Well, here's the secret. You already are okay. You already are safe. You already are whole. Not because of anything you've achieved or acquired, but because of what you inherently are. You are an expression of infinite love taking form. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are consciousness exploring its own creation. And nothing you do or don't do, nothing you gain or lose, nothing that happens or doesn't happen can change that fundamental truth. When you rest in this truth, letting go isn't a sacrifice. It's a relief. It's the natural response to realizing that you never had to hold on so tightly in the first place, that you were always held, that you are always held, that there's a larger intelligence, a deeper wisdom, a greater love supporting you in every moment. Trust that. Let go into that. And watch your life transform in ways you never could have forced or controlled into being. The more you let go, the more life gives you. Not someday, not in theory, but right now, in this very moment, as you release your grip and open your hands to receive all that's already here, already available, already waiting for you to simply accept it. This is the path of peace. This is the way of wisdom. This is the art of living. Let go and let life love you the way it's been trying to all along.